Hey, all right. You're listening to the Dead Man's Tome podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Deadman. Tonight we're talking about horror. Talking about Lovecraftian horror. I talk about when animals, strange beasts, escape from laboratories. Maybe these strange creatures we've seen before. Maybe like the Mothman. Maybe like these weird washed-up monsters that... What is this thing? We're talking about that. And to help make that possible, our guest tonight is Renee Mulhare. How's it going?
Hey there, folks. That's going great tonight.
It's good to have you.
Yeah, great to be here.
Now, your story is featured in Dead Man's Tome, Deep Fried Horror, Cthulhu Cheeseburger.
Love that title.
That is one hell of a title, huh?
That's a title you can sink your teeth into.
Literally, yeah.
Literally.
Good story. I definitely enjoyed it. The doormate out of Dunwich. So, yeah. I like your story. It's one of the more serious ones. You know, it still has a sort of cheese factor to it, but it's...
Yeah, it's kind of I think of it as kind of like a college comedy drama. There's, some re-imaging of some of the things that are in the actual Lovecraft story. Like, there's like a scene where there's somebody talking on the telephone to their neighbor, there's something coming into my yard, it's breaking my wall, I turned it into tweets. Into tweets, which I thought that was a blast writing those. So,
that was cool. Yeah. That was cool. That was that's one way to turn like a Lovecraft story into something more modern. I definitely enjoyed that. And you did it pretty well. It seemed pretty realistic. The only thing, I wonder how, because if something like that were to happen, people would be like filming that on their smartphones and putting it up on like Instagram or TikTok or whatever. Oh, look, there's like
exactly.
Because not to give too much away, but in your story, like someone's housing the secret, like a pet secret, and he's feeding it like cows. He's feeding it livestock, right? Okay.
Yeah. That's pretty much, that's how it is in the story. He's hiding this strange half beast from beyond and just feeding it cows. He keeps buying cows from the neighbors, and the neighbors are like, okay, they keep buying cows, but you never see any cows in the pasture. What's up with that?
Right.
Darn those Whateleys. They're weird.
And eventually, it escapes. It gets out. And then it's like, okay, everyone's seeing it, and people are reporting sightings on it. Okay, but if something were to happen like that in real life, you would hear about it, right?
Oh yeah.
Man.
What's in the drinking water up there in Dunwich? There's something in that moonshine they've been bootlegging.
Right?
Yeah.
Very much so.
But yeah, these days, it would be all over the news. It would be all over Instagram. It would be, people filming it, here's my feed on, YouTube or Facebook, my Facebook live video or something,
Yeah, they'll be filming it like that.
An invisible monster that's knocking down my neighbor's fence and broke down my porch and
and seeing if they can get close to it or give it a high five or play some pranks on it or something. Some YouTuber trying to show his merch, getting close to like some sort of Lovecraftian monster. It's all right, guys. It's all right. I'm Preston, yo. I don't know any massive YouTubers. I don't know.
What's up with tentacles?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Man. Okay. Now, what else would you like to say about the story? I know we kind of gave away, I guess, part of the ending there, but what else would you like to talk to?
It was a story that was it was a bit of a long time coming. I had kind of started writing it for another anthology that was like Miskatonic University updated to the 21st century, and for whatever reason I didn't finish it in time, I think, or something like that happened, and then I kind of shelved it for a while, and then I picked it up. I'd taken a break over Christmas holidays because I work retail, and it's hard juggling writing and working. So I was like, after Christmas, I picked it up and I was tinkering with it again, and I was like, this is kind of fun. I'm just gonna finish writing this, and just I was kind of drawing inspiration from the 1970 movie version, where they kind of make Wilbur Whateley a little more sympathetic and kind of a bit relatable. So I was thinking, okay, what would he be like as a college student? So that was kind of my main thrust with it. But then it kind of did turn into, a rampaging monster sort of story. Although there's a reason why this thing is rampaging. It's, It's lost. It has no idea what's going on. It's like, so I kind of was thinking along the lines of like some of the stuff that's been said about the monster in the Cloverfield.
Okay.
You know, it's not trying to be malevolent. It's just, it's a 50-foot whatever, and it's confused and lost. And when you're a 50-foot whatever and you're running around in a city, you're gonna bang into things, you know?
Right, and probably not realize what you're doing, right?
Exactly. Right. I mean, that's kind of the thrust with Lovecraft, with his beings. They're not necessarily malevolent. It's just they're so vast and so strange that they kind of don't fit in our universe very well, and they don't intend to. Yeah, they break things, and they don't intend to. They don't really intend to cause people to go crazy from looking at them, because, you know, they work by a different set of laws of physics. So, I mean, some of them, like Nyarlathotep, aren't necessarily the most friendly, but others are just, you know, how did I get into this place? And oh my gosh, what are those creatures?
Yeah.
They've only got a couple of legs. They only have 2 eyes. Oh, so in some ways, some of them are almost as scared of us as we are of them.
Right, and that makes sense. That makes sense because they don't really fit. They're from another world. They're here, and they're here. I mean, they might do stuff. They might. Yeah. You know, they're definitely gonna ruin our day.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
You encounter a Shoggoth in your kitchen. It's gonna cause problems, but it may not have intended to cause problems. You know.
Right.
It's like, how did it get there in the first place? Okay, who's been messing with the Necronomicon or one of the other Eldritch tomes of Eldritch lore out there?
It's kind of like the same thing with other beasts. Like let's say by chance there was a tiger in your house. Like, why is there a tiger in your house? I don't know, but what's going to happen now? Well,
is it going to eat me?
It's probably not going to go too well. You know?
Exactly. I mean, sometimes even if you get something small in your house, like a squirrel, I mean, it's frightened, it's stuck, it doesn't know what it's doing, and it's running around trying to find a way out, and it's going to bang into things and knock stuff over, and, you know, it's going to cause a terrible mess, but, you know.
Try to bite your face.
Exactly. I mean, if you're you know, trying to hit it with something, it's gonna fight back, because it's like, hey, you know, what are you doing to me? Ah!
Right.
Trump, you know? So, yeah.
That makes sense. So, were there any sort of difficulties or hurdles that you had to go through on or try to get past when working on this story?
The hardest part was I'd written it in a whole bunch of different fragments, and then trying to get all the fragments to sort of gel together. Because, like I said, it started off as sort of a college comedy kind of story, but then, like I said, it turns into a monster flick halfway through, and I think I did a good job, transitioning between one and the other. You know, plus I had a point of view character who kind of feels like an outsider herself, so, you know, I'm not going to say she finds the monster relatable, at least not, say, in a Shape of Water kind of way, but it's like, you know, she gets it, you know, this is a strange environment, and she doesn't always feel comfortable in, you know, the new environment that she finds herself in, so, you know, there's a certain, I guess what I was doing is I was kind of doing like Guillermo del Toro did with Deep Ones from Innsmouth, making them more sympathetic and understandable. And, you know, I mean, some people might say that dumbs it down, but I think in other ways it kind of helps us realize that there's a little bit of the other in some of us. So, you know,
I mean, I did like that you made her more relatable in that. Like, she made mistakes, silly mistakes, even with her trying to do the Lovecraft chants, you know, the various sort of magic stuff. When she's trying to do that, I know, you know, she's a student, she's learning it, but when she's practicing it, she's going to make mistakes. She's going to be kind of rusty. That's a relatable thing. Okay, yeah. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's in some ways I think that makes it a little. I'm not going to say a little scarier, but it's like, you know, you kind of think about it, it's like, ooh, you know, this could be in our midst and we don't even know it, you know?
Right.
It's like eldritch things may be happening under our noses.
Right, which we're going to get into later on in this episode. Real things, real situations, real animals that may or may not have escaped from laboratories or whatever. People keeping weird things as pets. Anyway. So yeah, and just remind everyone who's tuning in now, we're talking about the Dorm Mate Out of Dunwich by R.C. Mulhare. And this is, of course, in Deep Fried Horror, Cthulhu Cheeseburger. So feel free to take a look at that. So what is your favorite Lovecraft story?
Well, rather obviously the Dunwich Horror. Mm-hmm. Although I would say a close second would be Herbert West Reanimator, and I keep dipping into that and writing these weird little shorts. Some of them have been seasonal type ones that I've submitted to some seasonal type anthologies, and some are just plain strange. I will say, yeah, I have kind of drawn a little bit from, obviously the Jeffrey Combs movie, but you can't necessarily, you got to be careful with the copyright issues there. But, I've kind of playfully, slyly borrowed some things like, okay, I gave the narrator a name. I named him Danforth Kane, spelled with a K instead of a C. So that circumvents that issue. Plus, I've also, I gave the narrator a love interest who's, kind of has a feeling of what's going on, but she can't quite put her finger on it. So it's like that it's kind of, as I'm writing these little chapters and snippets, it's like, is she going to find out or is she going to find out? So that's, right. that's been fun to explore.
Okay.
What else? Shadow over Innsmouth. I find that one completely fascinating. I mean, here's this guy who's doing this genealogy and he's finding strange things on his family tree, which I can personally relate to because we've done some genealogy for my mother's side, and we found some strange stuff on it. Like, we found out we have a Civil War hero, and if you dig back far enough, we have ancestors that lived in Salem during the witch hysteria. So it's like, oh boy.
Oh, wow, look at that. Look at that.
Yeah, exactly.
I stopped digging into my family tree when I found out that one of my relatives, one of my ancestors, was a British guy during World War II. British guy who was a member of the Nazi Party. I was like, well, I think I'm done here. I think I'm done here.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm done.
You dig far enough, you're going to find some weird stuff. Maybe not necessarily. Maybe not necessarily finding out that you have fish people, but boy.
It's like, I would feel a little bit better if it was a German dude, a Nazi Party. Then I would understand, okay, you were swept into the movement, okay, whatever. But a British guy, I was like,
it's like,
what the fuck?
Why are you involved with that? I mean, you guys were winning side in World War I,
Well, yeah.
And, it's like, what's going on here? What's up with that? It's like, why are you, you're sympathizing with these people that are doing these awful things? But then again,
it's a mustache. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's the cool uniforms. Anyway, but oh man, okay. So, I recently reread The Color Out of Space because I've been wanting to see the movie, but I haven't seen the movie yet, which I heard really good things about. Have you seen it?
Not yet. Although I think there's I kind of want to go down to Providence because there's a small art house theater that's showing it right now. And come on, seeing a Lovecraft movie in Providence, how much better can it get, Right. But I'm kind of waiting till it shows up on Amazon Prime or Shudder or one of the other streaming services. But I've seen the trailer and I'm just, the casting choice of Nicolas Cage has me kind of going, but I like Nicolas Cage, so. That should get it.
Nick Cage, you know what? I think they're bad Nick Cage movies. Oh, yeah. But then there's good Nick Cage movies. And it's
there are.
Well, and in the good Nick Cage movies, you can't say Nick Cage didn't make it good because he's usually like the lead part. It's like there's directors, there's roles where it's okay to be cagey, which is when he does that crazy look. And A Color Out of Space, which I haven't seen yet, so I don't fully know.
You're going to need a crazy look at some point.
Right. You're going to need someone who's going a little crazy.
Exactly.
There was this, what is it? Cinemasker video rental. They do movie reviews, and I was watching their stuff. They did a whole series on Nick Cage movies. So they would compare various Cage movies to do like a Cage off, face off sort of thing. Compare two different movies. And that's what really won me over. Because they cover just about every Cage movie you could think of. Every Nicolas Cage movie. From Adaptation to Face Off to, what was it? The Bad Lieutenant. Was it Bad Lieutenant?
think so.
Gone in 60 Seconds. Driving Angry. Is that the name of the movie? Driving Angry. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but good examples, bad examples. All those. That won me over. I was like, okay, you know what? All right. But yeah, I think he would do well in this movie. From what I heard, he does well because you can play crazy. You're going to go crazy. Yeah. It's radiation.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. At some point, that's got to happen. You know, if you're not going crazy in a Lovecraft story, I'm not going to say there's something wrong, but
right.
You know, maybe they are the creature.
Right. Like he would be good. Oh, Nick Cage would even be great to like because he has that face, he has that cagey face. He could play off being like possessed or controlled by Cthulhu. He'd be like, "You're gonna die now." You know, like he could do that. I can see it. Probably not as a lead role in that film, but someone important. I don't know. Yeah, but Color Out of Space. That's I didn't. Being that I reread it, I have to say that's one of my favorites right now.
Yeah,
but
it is a good one.
It's good.
It is a good one. I've actually visited the reservoir that kind of was I would say the inspiration for it, but it was like the location that kind of gave Lovecraft the idea for writing this story about this valley that's being flooded and this guy who's concerned about them doing this because something strange has gone down in the middle of this valley and. Right. Do you really want to be putting water in there that people are going to be drinking?
Ooh, yeah.
You know? Like, yeah.
So it was actually based on a real event.
There was trying to remember the name of it, but there was a big project in central Massachusetts where they basically were rerouting some rivers to form this one reservoir smack in the middle of the state, and that was going to be like the water supply for sort of the Boston area and parts nearby. So and he's looking at this and thinking, you know, should they really be changing the land like this? Because I'm not going to say Lovecraft was a bit of an ecologist, but it was like he'd studied geology and things of that nature, so he was kind of concerned, you know.
Yeah.
You know, should this be done? You know, it's a good idea, but you know, in the long term, could this cause some kind of problem? So
see, I would have never guessed that was based on that, because the story does a great job of like, the problem is like this thing, this color, this strange thing comes out. Space. It's just it causes this. First off, the way he describes it, the way he writes it, his prose, there's so much depth to it. There's layers to it. It's hard to really kind of explain other than
it is.
It's thick. But
it is.
Out of all his stories, Color Out of Space isn't really all that thick. It's actually more it's a short story.
He really does write what you might almost call extended snippets. I mean, it's something. There's something happening, and there is a plot to it, but he doesn't over plot it. It's like he does leave a lot of space in it for you to look at this, think about the events, try to figure out what's going on. I mean, he really does play to the reader's intelligence, and that I think is why he's so enduring as an author, because he doesn't dumb things down. He makes, he gives you just enough. It twigs your curiosity. It jangles your nerves. You're trying to figure out what the heck is going on. What the heck are these things that people are confronting? But he doesn't just tell you if this thing is scary. He leaves it for you to decide the level of scary, you know? Right.
Yeah, I was about to say, the way he describes it too, he'll describe it matter-of-factly. And it's up to you, like you said, it's up to you whether or not you're scared by it or
your reaction is, it's like, are you going to be terrified of this? Are you going to be in awe of this? It's like the very ending of Shadow over Innsmouth, where the guy is looking in the mirror, and he kind of leaves it to you to decide how he's reacting. It's like, is this guy staring at his reflection and he cuts it off just before. When the gears are starting to click in the guy's head, And it kind of leaves it up to you to decide, where he's going with this. Is he going to freak out, or is he going to be, okay?
Wait. Remind me of that story. Is that the one where the guy starts off like in this tower and he's like, he has to climb up?
Oh, you're thinking of The Outsider, but that has a similar. Yeah, those two actually have similar endings.
Because he's looking in the mirror too.
Yeah, exactly. It both ends with the protagonist, or the point of view character rather, looking in a mirror and kind of. The Outsider, I personally feel, and this just might be my slant on it, it's more of being, the ending is more horrified at what the protagonist is discovering. But I feel like the ending of Shadow of Innsmouth is even more nebulous. And it's either he's about to freak out, or he's about to go, okay, this is a thing. This confirms what I thought. And okay, this is my life now.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds more like it. Yeah. Because The Outsider was pretty. Yeah. He started describing it, and it sounded pretty bad. The POV character is like, he is the monster. He is
exactly
that.
Yeah.
When he was, that's right. Because then it's been a while since I read the one. He was scared about what he saw at first, but then he realized it was just him in the mirror, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
The question is it even more scary now that he knows, or is it like that fear of the unknown thing? And now that you can quantify it, it kind of makes it a little less intense,
Yeah. What's funny too is like the whole short story of The Outsider is odd. You're just in his mind. You're in his thoughts, and he's pondering the situation. You're following him as he climbs up. And it's like, man, he has a lot of strength. He's climbing up this tower. Like, how is he doing this?
Yeah, exactly. It's like what is going on here? Is he actually climbing a tower? Is this a dream?
Mm-hmm.
Is he hallucinating this? What is going on here? It's one of those stories that it gets inside your head, and it's actually, I find it probably because it was like the first Lovecraft story that I read, but it's like that one got inside my head, and I just was like, whoa, I just kept pondering it and turning it over in my head and just trying to figure it out. And then, although I came to the point where, should you be trying to figure it out? Shouldn't, why not just embrace it as the weird thing that it is,
Right.
Because I think sometimes not being able to figure a thing out makes it more, interesting and more awe-inspiring,
Oh yeah, definitely. Because you still have that fear of the unknown. You're like, what is this exactly?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what am I looking at? What?
Now the another favorite. What are your thoughts on Whisper in the Darkness?
Whisper in Darkness. Oh my, that one. My mind keeps going back to that one. I think that was like maybe the fourth or fifth Lovecraft story that I read.
Yeah.
That one. It fascinates me. It freaks me out a little bit, and I'm wondering, maybe just maybe there could be aliens out there that could be, offering people the chance. Hey, you can travel the galaxies with us. There's just one small price to it, So
we need your brain.
Yeah, we need your brain, and we're gonna put it in a mason jar.
Yeah.
With a life support system. But it's like it's a very interesting take on the alien abduction story. It's
Mm-hmm.
It's like I find that one fascinating. I've also have you seen the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society's movie version of that one?
No, I haven't. I have not. Is it good?
Yeah, that's extremely good. They kind of changed the ending, and they kind of tweaked it a little bit along the way, but it was mostly tweaks in order to translate it to film, because there's things that you have to do kind of when you're translating from a print media to a visual media.
Right.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, it kind of frames the story almost. I'm not going to say it's like in some ways it's like a universal monster movie in a way, but it's not quite as I hate to use the word maybe not hammy, but just it's a little more subtle than your standard universal monster movie, but it's that kind of aesthetic to it. So that really, you almost get the feeling of maybe this is a film version of the story from an alternate universe where Lovecraft was more successful as an author and actually was able to sell his stories in Hollywood. Yeah. which is kind of what they do. They have a whole series of radio dramas that they've done, or should I say radio style dramas, where they've adapted pretty much. I think they've done all of Lovecraft's all of his solo works. I think they're starting to branch onto some of the collaborations and things that he's done, so that's kind of interesting.
It's a great well of information and story to feed off of, to work from, because exactly. I think what most of his works are in public domain or something. Like what's to do with that? Is it?
All of the solo works, I believe, are in the public domain now. It's the collaborations that he did that's where the rights kind of start getting a little wonky, because some of them have lapsed, but others have not.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the sort of thing where they've had to go kind of case by case with it, trying to release them for the anthologies and collections and whatnot. So it's a little rocky, but I think some of them lapsed this year.
Okay.
Copyright law in the United States is a little complicated, but there was a bunch of them that did lapse. So, it's like all the solo works are. So it's like you can pretty much take those and tinker with them.
Okay.
That's great from them.
It's great for content creators on YouTube or for podcast creators, because it gives you, especially when you just do horror or to do an audio show or what have you, you have all this information, all these stories you can use. Yeah. It's up to you what you want to do with it.
Yeah, what direction you're going to take it in, and this is the sort of thing that he would be delighted with, because in his lifetime he was happy to trade ideas with his writing friends. It was like, hey Howard, I want to do a story with weird books of eldritch lore. Can you think of a title? And it's like, oh, I know of a few. Here's some that you can borrow. So he didn't mind people coming in and playing in his sandbox, as it were. I mean, that's the way he wanted. I mean, he kind of looked at his own mythos as not really his creation, but in some ways kind of his discovery, and he almost played with it like that. I mean, there's reams of letters that we have from him where he's chatting with his writing friends about this, that, and the other thing, and he's jokingly saying oh, that editor is kind of giving me trouble. Maybe I should summon a Shoggoth into his office, Seriously, this guy was not above a little comedy with it. I mean, so, doing comedic Lovecraft is, I mean, he himself even did some self-parody. There's, I think it's The Hound, where he sort of really plays with his own sort of Baroque, bizarre voice and just exaggerates, his tendency to use these weird adjectives over and over again.
Right. I mean, okay, that's good.
I mean, it's dryly funny, but it's it's actually quite hilarious when especially if you're reading it out loud, because then you start to realize, oh, he keeps using that word. He's making fun of his own tendency to use that word over and over again.
That's good.
The standard joke is you can't get through a Lovecraft story without the use of the words eldritch or squamous. And I'm trying to remember what the word was that he kept repeating in The Hound, but it was hilarious.
And what was it? Color Out of Space. He liked using, what was it, like gray bitterness? No, brittle. Like brittle came up a lot, and just gray. Everything just gray and colorless. It was just like, except it wouldn't use another word. See, right now I'm using other words to describe this word. It was just gray. It was just gray. That's it. It's like, okay.
Exactly. I mean, this weird color is draining the color out of everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's good. Being able to laugh at your own stuff, at your own work, is a good trait. That's a good trait to have, people. Okay. I like how you mentioned Outsiders, your first story. That was mine as well. First Lovecraft story to read. I got this collection. It was the Outsider. Then I think I skipped around when Outsider went Rats in the Walls, which was a good one. Which was very interesting and then funny at the time. I'm a South Park guy. I like South Park, that sort of show, that sort of humor. So when I first heard what he named as Black Cat, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What is this? I was like, oh, okay, this is what we're talking about now. Oh, well, all right, well, okay, the main character's racist. It's like,
I'm from the north, so when I read that one, I was like, what did you just name your cat? Oh boy. Ah, you know.
Oh man, it's just okay. Well, all right. And then of course there's like a secret, undiscovered ancient city under his house. I was like, how convenient.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. How deep is this? Because that would mess with the foundation, right? I mean,
how deep does this basement go?
Yeah.
Although then again, there actually was a case in, I think it was somewhere in, I want to say it was Turkey or someplace in the kind of, I won't say the Middle East, but like somewhere between Europe and West Asia. There actually was a similar case where somebody was doing renovations on a very old house, and they broke through what they thought was just, a sub basement, and they realized, wait a minute, there's a city under here. It was like this whole, seriously, it was like this very old, they think it was probably like some kind of fortification during a war, like, they tunneled out, under a city that had been there, and this was where they would like pull back the non-combatants and store stuff and whatnot. So it was like when the city was being besieged, they could withdraw everyone that was not involved in the actual fighting and just have them, hide under there until, things were less crazy up above. So, so it's not impossible that you could have, an ancient city hiding in your basement. It's just a matter of digging far enough.
Well, it kind of reminds me of what else we talk about tonight, where it might not actually be completely impossible or unheard of to actually witness some strange monster, animal, or entity, what have you,
running
that
around,
no one really knows much about.
Oh.
So, did you have any ideas? Any strange creatures? Like,
I'm thinking of
the Mothman?
Probably the very first cryptid that really caught my imagination, caught my attention, and just had me going, what the heck is in this world? Oh my goodness. Because I was like 10 or 11 years old, was digging through the library section on ghost stories and whatnot, because a friend of mine got me into ghost stories, and I'd run out of books on ghosts, and I thought, okay, let's look at some other creepy creatures. And I'm trying to remember what the title of it was. It was a Scholastic book, and I think the title of it was maybe Mysterious Monsters or something like that.
All right.
And it was these little short chapters about different cryptids, different weird monsters. Like there was a chapter on sea monsters. There was one on Bigfoot. And then towards the very back, there was a chapter on a thing called the Mothman. So I start reading this, and there's one story that really caught me. It was an account from, I think it was like the 1960s. There was a family that was coming home from, they'd been on vacation or something like that. They're driving home in the dark, and they realize that there's this big thing with wings that is following their car. So they keep speeding up the car. The thing keeps keeping up with them. They, literally are zooming down this country road to get to their house.
Right.
And this thing just keeps following them. So they go running, they finally get to their house, stop the car, go running inside, and the thing is standing on the driveway now, looking at them with these huge eyes that are like, glowing balls of fire in the darkness. And they get in the house, lock the door, and are just sort of, cowering in their living room. And there's these big shiny red eyes looking in the window. And that freaked me out to no end. But at the same time, it fascinated me. It was like, what is this creature? Does this thing really exist? Is this, a figment of their imagination or whatnot? So at that point, from there, any account that I could find that referred to this strange creature that sort of looks like, a cross between a human and an owl, or a human and a moth. It was like, I'd hone in on that, because that just, it freaked me out and fascinated me, because, and come to find out, there's actual accounts from, fairly credible sources. I mean, there's firefighters that have seen it. There was a police officer that saw it. There's one photograph that supposedly is of this thing. It was taken near a bridge just before it collapsed. So there were people that were speculating, well, maybe this creature is some kind of a death omen or something like that.
Right. That's one thing that people do speculate, that maybe it's like if you see the Mothman, it means he's trying to warn you that something's going to happen. maybe he's not really the bringer of bad luck, but just like you'll see him there, and that's an indication it's time to get out.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't hang around here. This is not a good place. Just be on your way, and you'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and the thing about the Mothman, of course, people could easily naysay it, right? People could be like, "Oh, it could be anything. You don't know it's a Mothman. What is a Mothman? It sounds so cheesy. It sounds like a comic book.
Sounds like a bad superhero,
right? Sounds like a reject. Okay, you could write a comic about that. Okay, but there are weird things that people do see that, in these weird sightings, they do have. It's something that happens, right? There's a history to this. As you mentioned the couple, and with 1966, here I'm seeing that it looked like 5 men who were digging a grave at a cemetery in West Virginia claimed to have seen a man-like figure flying low from the trees over their heads. I thought that, what is that? Was that just a big falcon at night?
Yeah, exactly. Is it some kind of like a heron or a stork or something like that flying in low? I mean, those things can get pretty tall, but I wouldn't necessarily say they're the height of a tall human being. Which, as I've always seen that, the estimated height on the Mothman is like 5-6 feet tall. I don't think there's really any storks in this neck of the woods that get that tall. So, I mean, maybe it could have been like a freakishly big one that got, exposed to something or something like that. Because one thread that I ran across on Reddit, there's some speculation that the Mothman could have been some kind of government project, or maybe an unintentional government project, because it's often been cited in near this area that's like, it's like a wildlife preserve kind of. That's it was formerly near. I think the land was used as like a munitions factory during World War II. I think there's still some explosives supposedly that are stored in like bunkers or something like that in that area. So it's like
interesting.
Yeah, it's like, who knows? Something could have leaked out. Maybe it got into the water, affected the wildlife. There we are with the Colorado space.
Right.
But who knows? There could have been some kind of, I don't know, some sort of government projects going on in the, in whatever structures that they have from that munitions factory. I mean, MK Ultra did all kinds of weird stuff.
They did.
Yeah,
they did.
Who's to say there wasn't some kind of, tinkering, unintentional or otherwise, involving some.
And we know we tinker. We know our government definitely tinkers and stuff, and they probably shouldn't, and probably still doing it now. I'm pretty sure. Now, that's part of the explanation for, what was that thing called? The strange...
Montauk.
The Montauk...
Montauk Monster?
The Montauk Monster. That thing.
Yeah.
It's nearby is the Plum Island Animal Disease Center.
Boy.
Which...
What does that tell you?
Right? It's like, that's convenient.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like some kind of medical testing involving animals. That could be anything,
Well,
it's like,
you're actually right. It is medical testing involving animals. It was actually, it was used, and during the Cold War, it was used as a secret biological weapons program targeting livestock.
Oh boy.
Targeting livestock. Now, there were laws. There were laws that would prevent even prevent the military from doing certain tests. Doing testing for a foot and mouth disease, which is common from like cloven-hooved animals. Prevent them from running those sort of tests on mainland soil because it could get out.
Yeah, exactly.
Smart law. Just keep that law.
Yeah, it is.
But because Plum Island is off the mainland, they're like, well, we'll just do it here then.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. They were doing that for a while.
Oh boy.
But.
Yeah.
What's interesting though is apparently there was outbreaks or suspected outbreaks of certain things that came out from there, and they eventually, it looks like they closed it down. The person who closed, but there's speculation that it could have been tied to researching of Lyme disease in 1975 or West Nile virus.
Oh boy.
The duck plague in 1867. But that's this is based on information from a book. It's not really. I don't know how credible that is.
Yeah.
But I do know it sounds like. I think only one of the buildings in that place is actually maybe kind of operational.
Huh.
Like they kind of closed it down, and the person who closed it down was Nixon. Nixon shut it down. Nixon shut it down. Yeah.
Nixon shut down the Montauk facility.
Yeah, he was like, no, we're not doing this because it poses a health risk. Say what you will about Nixon, but he shut that shit down.
Probably about the one good thing that he did.
Right? He was like, no, this doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right at all. So
interesting fact.
But it doesn't matter though, because they're gonna make another one. Because they're making another one now. It's gonna be replaced. It's being replaced right now. The replacement facility is, let's see, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, announced that Plum Island Animal Disease Research Center will be replaced by a new federal facility located in Kansas. It's called the National Bio and Agro Defense Facility, NBAF.
That sounds like they're trying to create some kind of super soldiers or something like that.
Oh,
maybe I've just watched the X-Files too much.
Man. You're right. You're right to be worried. worried.
Man.
You know, I made fun of China for their the coronavirus. It's like I don't know, man. They right near the epicenter of the coronavirus is a virus weapon lab. It's like, okay,
good Lord.
You guys were playing with something. You had to have been. Like, what is this? It's crazy.
I hadn't heard that one.
And there's all. So I know it's crazy conspiracy theories. They'll tell you, but there is evidence in this part. Okay, there are two biosafety laboratories, and they were researching viruses, right? In Wuhan.
Oh boy.
Also, you have scientists that were Chinese scientists who were kicked out of like Canada and other universities. That one in America. They were giving information back to Wuhan. It's like, what were they giving back? You know, what taking back? And then
that's cause for concern.
They'll look at the RA, not the DNA, but the RNA of the virus. Be like, man, this makeup seems like it is really specific. There's like a part of it where it looks like it's like has like a HIV code. Now that's above my. I'm not a biology guy. You know, I'm not a scientist.
Yeah.
That part, I'm just kind of like relying on information that could be right, could not be right. I don't know, but it is weird. There's a lot of stuff there. You know, crazy conspiracies are like ones where there's no real evidence to back anything up, and the most logical conclusion is probably just the easy story. Right?
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that you can cut through it with Occam's razor.
Right.
But once in a while, even when you're trying to cut through with Occam's razor, that razor edge will hit up on something solid.
Right. So
once in a while there is something to,
the common,
there is something to it.
The mainstream narrative, kind of sort of, is that this coronavirus came from bat soup or something. Like, oh, maybe they eat some bat soup or bushmeat. Okay. Well, why just Wuhan then? I mean, like, why just there?
Yeah.
And it actually turns out the first person who had the virus wasn't even at the wet market where they would get the bat soup.
Huh.
So it was like, okay, man, this is crazy. Anyway, my point of just bringing that up is that I make fun of them for doing that. And now we're going to have a national bio and agro defense facility in Kansas. Oh, if something were to break out there, that wouldn't be good at all.
No, I mean, that's smack dab in the middle of the country. It's gonna, it can go in any direction it wants. But I mean, if it breaks out on an island, hopefully the water would contain it so that it's not, running amok and, Interesting fact. This is going off in a different direction, but going back to Montauk. Have you watched the Netflix series Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was originally going to be entitled Montauk because the Duffer Brothers got a lot of their inspiration from the Plum Island facility for, Hawkins Labs and all the weird stuff that was going on there. And that one gets shut down. So,
Oh, yeah,
truth,
of course. In that one, they had
truth and fiction being just as strange.
They had an underground a Russian facility that was very sophisticated. That was built. It's like okay,
back to underground bunkers with oddly complex construction going on here. Where have we seen that before?
Yeah. Which, by the way, they're still building that facility in Kansas, so it could. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that facility. I don't know what's going to happen there. But yeah, I did verify it. It was the entire program, the research on the biological weapons at PIADC did not cease until the entire program was canceled in 1969 by Richard Nixon. Okay, there's one good thing he did there. Okay, he didn't want that stuff to break. He was like, shut that shit down. Okay, that's just to make sure that was right. I was like, man, okay, all right.
Oh boy.
All right, well, what else? What we got? Other things that break out. I got well, of course, there's stories about monkeys that break out.
Yeah, I've heard of cases like that too. It's like, and that's bound to happen because apes have a certain amount of intelligence, and sooner or later they're going to they're little problem solvers, and sooner or later they're going to figure out how to get out of this place, especially if they're in an environment that they just plain don't want to be in because nasty stuff is happening to them. Not to be glib about it, because animal testing is not often a good thing. Especially some of the stuff that I've read about, like some of the behavioral stuff, just made me want to cry. Just ugh. I mean, I understand like trying to find cures for diseases and whatnot, but if you're doing the some of the behavioral psychological type testing, and I'm not sure that I want to get into that, because that's just plain ugh. We're just gonna say that would drag the conversation down. I was like, just let's try to keep it light and weird here.
You know what? Would they bring it down even further? And then, now they're wanting to do testing on octopus, because they're not.
Oh God.
They're not going to do anything, right?
Oh God. That's not
getting badly.
Considering how scary, intelligent octopuses, octopuses, octopi, whatever the plural is, octopuses will say. Okay. But considering how crazy intelligent those little buggers are, I don't want to think about that, because they'll kill
the scientists. Yeah. They'll kill the scientists, break out, and start rampaging. That'd be your story. That'd be your story come to life.
Forget Cthulhu.
Yep. We made Cthulhu.
No wonder that guy in Providence was so terrified of cephalopods.
Right?
Yeah, they're escape artists anyway. I mean, if you have a gap wide enough for them to get their little bony beak through, they can get through that.
That's right.
I mean,
that's right.
There's crazy stories about them escaping from their tanks in aquariums and creepy crawling around in the building. Like, there was one strange case I think it was in Germany, there was an octopus in a display on one side of a hallway, and on the other side there was a tank with a lot of like clams and other kind of shellfish and things that octopuses like to eat.
Right.
So they noticed that the shellfish were starting to disappear from the tank. And they're thinking, well, what's going on? Is somebody pocketing these things? What's going on? So they put a camera in the hallway to see what was going on. Well, what was happening was, at night, when nobody was around, one of the octopuses was climbing out of the tank, climbing down the front of the tank, walking across the hallway floor, climbing up the other side of the tank across the way, getting in with the shellfish, and helping himself to the shellfish.
How long can an octopus stay out of water?
They actually can stay out of water for, I think it's up to 15, 20 minutes before they really start to dry out and I got to get back in the water.
Yeah.
But yeah, they can get out on land and walk around for a little while. So, Yeah,
and
I mean, he had
enough to
enough
get to shellfish.
Yeah, exactly. Enough time to go get himself some nice clams.
Dang, man, that octopus
Yeah.
thought he was at a buffet.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn. They keep on
Like,
feeding me.
oh, cool. Yeah, like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I can eat buffet over here. But yeah, I mean, there's also been another case. There was an octopus that, he found found a drain that actually, somehow the pipes just ran out to the ocean, and he let himself out of the entire aquarium.
The entire thing.
The entire thing. I mean, he just escaped through. It was like they found, like, whatever the lid of the drain thing was. They found that prized out, and they could, they realized, okay, that's where he must have gone. I mean, they were finding, octopus slime in the drain, and they figure, okay, this is where he must have gone, and they somehow were trying to trace him through the pipe system, and they think he must have snuck out to sea and went on his merry way in the ocean. So I want to talk about an octopus prison break.
It sounds believable. They're pretty smart. They're pretty cunning. They will get out.
Yeah.
They'll do things. Imagine
Exactly.
being researched on and being injected with some sort of secret or select biological agent. You get like an octopus that like secretes anthrax or something. I don't know. Some crazy research. Oh my god, that would not be smart.
No.
And I agree with you.
Yeah.
My opinions on animal research, just like, okay, if there's a reason, if like we're trying to find a cure for something, but if we're just fucking around.
Yeah, if you're just messing around with the thing and trying to change its genetics or its biological makeup or something like that, that ain't right. Don't do that. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it,
Right? Definitely won't try to turn them into weapons. I don't even know how that'd even be applicable at all. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
What are they gonna? Yeah, it's like, what are they trying to come up with? Some kind of weaponized octopodes? Octopuses of mass destruction. That could be the title of the story.
I think that's, what? I think that might be part of. Look, when the government, when the military is looking into creating like viral weapons and then animal-based weapons, that stuff. How do you? First of all, viral weapons. How do you even contain that? If that gets released, how do you contain that? Good luck.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You just fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. Forget infecting the enemy. What happens when it infects
Yeah.
you? Exactly. It's like this is a sword that literally cuts both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I mean.
And then if you give an animal if you inject them and get them infected with some sort of weird biological agent, which is, there was a monkey that escaped from a lab in University of Pittsburgh that had some select agent. They didn't say what it was in it, but it said it could have been a number of things, which is like, okay, well, you're reporting this. I mean, what's in it? Can you get that information? You should be able to get that information. I would
exactly. I mean. Although probably they would argue, we don't want to tell them what exactly it is because it could cause a panic. Well, it's causing a panic anyway because fear of the unknown.
Right. Right.
It's back to the fear of the unknown. It almost sounds like the plot of Richard Adams's novel, The Plague Dogs, which was similar. It was two dogs that escaped from some kind of animal testing facility in England, and apparently they're infected with something or other, and then the scientists are trying to go after them to contain them, and these dogs just want to get out. They just want to be free. They just want to be dogs and do dog things,
Yeah.
So,
get pissed in the street, chase some squirrels.
Exactly. Run around, chase squirrels, dig holes,
Get some free food from humans.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'm a cute puppy. Give me, can I have some treats, please?
Spread that disease around a little bit, by accident. I'm just a friendly dog. Just pet me, yo. Yeah. It's all right. That's how it breaks out, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
The military doesn't need to be doing that stuff. No. We got enough stuff. We got drones. We got enough power to So I'm very curious what's going to happen with this new facility. It's not even completed yet. I mean, you can take a look at it. It's they're still working on it. Who knows what's going to happen with it? But hopefully, if there's any truth to the whole coronavirus being a military a weapon or something, it's like, dude, like don't do it. You don't even need that. You don't even need that for evidence. Just have you ever watched a sci-fi movie? Have you played Resident fucking Evil? Like the virus gets out and it's not contained. You can't contain it. Oh, the virus doesn't care what nation you're from or who you are or which flag you salute. You know, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. It's like those eldritch beasties. They don't care, you know.
Right.
They don't care who or what you are. It's just you're tasty and good with ketchup or whatever it is that eldritch beasties
so imagine
things that they're eating.
Imagine we somehow created some weird mutant octopus that becomes like some sort of like Cthulhu or something.
Oh God.
Oh, man.
It could already be down there. Maybe that's what's going on with that octopus that escaped. There's one of Cthulhu's spawn, and he snuck out and is looking for his family. I know you're down here, Aurelia. I'm coming, Dad.
You know, you mentioned dogs. You know, people still every now and then you'll hear about a strange dog. I read an article just the other day about the strange dog that was found. They know it's some sort of dog, but they don't know what kind it is. They know it's a canine, but they don't know what it is exactly. They've never seen it before. There were, of course, people were like, "Oh, it could be a chupacabra." Maybe. I don't know. Probably not. But it's probably something else. It could be. I don't know. But what is it?
There's so many dog-like creatures in, I think it's like British folklore. You know, there's I'm trying to think what they're. I was going to say hellhounds, but there's another name for them, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's the sort of thing that'll come back to me when once we wrap up this conversation. But yeah, there's different kinds of sort of strange, giant, you know, very dangerous canine creatures. So it's like maybe this is the sort of thing that legend was based off of. I mean, barghests. That's what they're called. Barghests. 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 Barghest. And apparently they're in the legends. They're supposed to be some kind of like the watchdog of sort of the realm of the elves. Although most people think of elves as little creatures, you know, with bluebells on their heads, but in the old legends, elves they're more intelligent than we are. They're taller and more majestic than humans, and they're something to be feared. So, you know, maybe there's something to this creature. Maybe it's, you know, a cryptid that's been, you know, lurking on the edge of society, and it's just, you know, just out of reach for whatever reason, you know?
Maybe.
I mean, I honestly think that legends often, you know, as imaginative and as clever as they may be, I think a lot of them do have a certain root in reality, in creatures that, you know, are hard to explain or pin down or whatever, you know. So who knows? Maybe this creature that you're talking about, maybe it's a barghest, you know. It's just emerged for whatever reason, you know.
I mean, it is quite possible that you might see something that you can't explain, that you haven't seen before. I mean, species. I mean. Let's see. I mean, if you just stay in your suburbs, you're probably not going to see anything. If you go out and explore like any sort of wilderness you can, you might see something that you haven't seen before. You're definitely going to see something you haven't seen before you get out of your comfort zone, right?
Exactly. You're going to start, realizing that the world is a bigger and stranger place than you thought it was, you know?
Right. I mean, scientists are still discovering new species of, you know, usually it's like insects and fish, but those are smaller things. And it's like, we haven't seen this sort of fish before, but it's just another fish. Okay. Or we haven't seen this insect before, but don't let it sting you. It might be bad. We don't know yet. You know? So, okay. Yeah. Of course, you go in.
There's bat species that they've discovered in some of the corners of the Amazon that hadn't been explored before. It's like, who knows what's out there, you know?
Well, maybe you should take a look at China and see what their bat species is. Maybe the coronavirus did come from a bat. We don't know. You know, it could be like some sort of weird, thought to be extinct bat that was like, exotic meat. Oh, we got to have that exotic bush meat. And now you're paying for it. Don't.
What is it that your mother says? Don't eat that thing that's been on the ground. You don't know where it's been.
Yes.
It's like, yeah. I feel like it's that written large.
It's like, come on, man. Come on, China. You don't have to eat everything you see.
No.
It's like, come on.
Just because it isn't talking back to you. Please don't eat it.
Right. Oh, man. It's like I look the other way on dogs, and I'm just like, that's a cultural difference, whatever. With bats?
Bats? That's just, what are you doing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, God. But yeah, it goes, you go into the water. You go in the ocean. Oh, man, you're going to see all sorts of weird stuff. I mean, what,
the ocean,
they see, like, giant squids.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we found this giant squid. It's okay.
Yeah, it's like we haven't really mapped out all of the ocean, and we don't know completely what's down there. I mean, they could be, probably no Cthulhu could be down there, or something of that nature.
Right. Could be.
So there's things in the pelagic zone in the ocean that are just plain. You look at them and they are something out of a Lovecraftian story.
They are.
All
right, now we're kind of wrapping up here. One of the last questions I ask all my guests every time they're on. I'll give you a choice. Okay. Do you want to go paranormal right now, or do you want to talk about your favorite horror movie?
Yeah, we're gonna go with the paranormal.
Okay. Have you ever had a paranormal experience, and what was it?
I've had some very interesting paranormal experiences, and I think probably the one that I'm the most fond of. I've had experiences with ghosts or sensing presences that you couldn't quite. It wasn't something that you could see with your eyes, but it was something that you could just sense. There is an intelligence here, and I'm not sure why it is here. But there was one time it sensed something. Exactly. I sense presences very easily. But there was one time my folks and I were visiting the big cemetery in Cambridge. Oh gosh, I'm blanking out on the name of it horribly. But anyway, it's this big, beautiful old Mount Auburn cemetery. This big, beautiful old cemetery. It was like one of the first what they called garden cemeteries. The stones are laid out nicely. There's beautiful trees planted. There's flowering bushes, whatnot. Beautiful, beautiful place. And I'm walking along, and I had this sense that there was a presence. It was almost like a little girl running around, just kind of almost like playing hide and seek. Nipping behind stones and peeking out, and then running behind another one, and just zigzagging back and forth. And I always had this feeling to her, like it was kind of like a mischievous presence, like she was out and about and she wasn't supposed to be, like the little girl that gets loose from the garden and is running around in town having a big adventure. She got loose from her nursemaid or her school teacher or what have you, just out and about.
Okay.
And I'm walking along, and I passed by this one plot that was almost like a family plot. The same last name was on all the tombstones and whatnot. And I keep walking, and I look over, and there's this one small gravestone. I think the name on it was Lucinda. She was aged 6 years when she passed. And I thought, this is her. And then after that, I didn't sense her presence anymore. So it was always like, she went home, She was running around having an adventure, and her ghost mama called her and said, Lucinda, you gotta come home. You can't be out bothering the living people. You're gonna scare them.
That's very cool.
It was a strange experience, but it was kind of a sweet experience. It was a friendly haunting.
So you're at a cemetery. I mean, did she do anything, or she was just kind of stalking you, watching you?
She was just kind of running around, running back and forth. I just kept sensing, like, okay, she's over here. No, wait a minute, she's over there. It's like it didn't feel malevolent or unfriendly. It just felt like, a little girl running around having the time of her life, and just bugging one of the living people, and trying to see what kind of a reaction she'd get. And I wasn't getting freaked or nothing, because I was like, okay, it's not trying to do anything to me.
Now, were you alone?
I was walking ahead of my mother a little ways. It was like, she was, had stopped to look at something or other, and I just kind of kept walking along, looking at some of the, the different tombstones and the different.
Okay.
There's really artwork. I mean, there's these beautiful statues that are on some of these stones. There's beautiful carvings. I mean, it's if you visit one cemetery in Massachusetts, that's the one to visit, because it is just so, it's peaceful, it's quiet, it's just a beautiful, beautiful place, you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to be there after I'm dead.
Now, is this the first time you experienced anything like this?
It wasn't the first time that I'd experienced a presence, but it was one of the ones that really stuck with me. I mean, I've had feelings that I wasn't alone before, but it wasn't as intense as this. Like,
now, the other people that were with you, did they sense it too?
My mom picked up that there was something going on, but my dad was off in a different direction, so it was like he had no clue what was going on. But my mother was like, "What were you looking around at?" And I said, "Well," and then tell her this experience, and she's like, "That's kind of odd, but that's kind of nice." And I mean, I pointed out the stone and everything, so it was like, okay, maybe this is a thing, you know?
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Now you think maybe she went home, but what if she went out and sort of stalking other people, messing with other people?
Who knows? Maybe she just found a really, the little kid playing hide and seek that just found a really good hiding spot, and is just waiting for the next person to come along so they can, bug them a little bit,
Right. Maybe she found another ghost kid. I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, there's it's more or less a city of the departed. I mean, there's hundreds of people that are buried there, and there's hundreds of stories there. So who knows? There could be other spirits, other entities there that maybe she's running around and playing with some other ghost kids there. Who knows?
Right. Could be. Well, thanks for sharing the story. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Well, Renee Mulhare, it's been great having you on the show. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you made it this far, please press the like button, share, and subscribe. The biggest thing that helps a lot is share. When you share this link on Twitter or Facebook, it helps a whole lot, because, believe it or not, this show gets demonetized, which I don't really care, but it means that YouTube doesn't promote it or anything. Why? Because talk about horror, talk about if you talk about anything that's kind of upsetting to people, it's not going to be promoted. We got to talk about cats. We got to do a whole stream dedicated to cats.
Makeup tutorials.
Yeah. I'm going to do makeup tutorials now. That's what I'm going to do.
Oh, no.
That actually.
Horror makeup tutorials.
Yeah, and then that one will actually get views.
Rock makeup.
Yeah. Shit. All right. Don't give me any ideas here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Y'all have a good one.